Hi, welcome back. Okay, let me get right into it. This young professor is telling me that after the council, Vatican II council in the 60s, they had a conference in Minnesota called Land of Lakes, or Orlando Lakes. It was a conference for the universities, Catholic universities of America. And in this conference, they wanted to upgrade, to apply, they said, to put into practice the Vatican Council thoughts and mood and spirit. Anyway, and they had these presidents of these university, deans and professors and priests and bishops there to work at the mindset of how we're going to go on with the Catholic faith and he's teaching in the colleges. And of course, liberalism came in really bad. I mean, universities always had some liberalism, but it really infiltrated. They played down the teachings of the faith more in these universities, and the theology would have been more of a liberal theology, Protestantized. And liberal arts was put down. A lot of it was, we replaced a lot of thinking of the history of the church and all with humanism, with mathematics, should I say, and sciences, and less on the formation and development of Catholic men and women, young men and women. And of course, it progressed and progressed and progressed till right now. Our Catholic universities are bad or worse than the secular, the government colleges. And he said in Fordham, I believe it's Fordham, God, never heard of it, Catholic University, a large Catholic University in Washington, in New York, excuse me, trying to talk fast. And he says that the head theologian, the doctor of theology, is a nun, a feminist. I don't know if he says she was lesbian or what he says, but just feminist propaganda, stuff that she puts out in her teachings. And stuff that she says and teaches goes into the feminist magazines. That's how good or how bad it is that she's doing. And he said in the university that he teaches, he said, this is a large university in the Northeast, and he says, that this year, it might have been last year, he didn't know, but on the 2 days of orientation of all the student body getting together and being, starting their school year. On the second day, he says they have a woman come and talk about safe sex. And he says she brings out toys. I don't know what he's talking about. He says sex toys that she gives out. And then he says they had condoms wrapped in colorful red, blues, reds, pinks, yellows, whatever, in foil, and by the thousands they were throwing them to the student body. And it's like Santa Claus giving out candy. This is sick. He says in the packets, all universities, Catholic too, all universities, in the packets they hand to the students, beginning of the year, maybe, with a map of the school and grounds and all this, whatever it is they want to tell the kids, they put in condoms in there with it. This is sad. He said in his office building, professor's office building, he says in the hall they have a vending machine, which he says you can get candy and potato chips or whatever in there. And he said he noticed the other day that he went in there to get something, and he says they have a spot for condoms that you can buy your condoms right there. So they push in their agenda. He said that when the professors are introduced to their students, when the students introduce themselves or whatever, the professor is to ask, how do you want to be addressed, he or she? Wow. His name is Christopher, but do you want to be Christopher or Christine? This is sick. He said he doesn't do that, and they email him, text him saying, you need to put this into practice. He says on the professor, they gave out a little paper or something like this, but it's large. He says for the professors to put on their office door, welcome the homosexual. It's a rainbow, and says you are welcomed in my office. He said he didn't do that either, but we have on those condom machine, vending machine with condoms. He went and talked to the priest at the school, I guess, and he said the priest says, oh, that's wonderful, and this is which I wasn't surprised at, because what's going on in the priesthood and the bishops and cardinals and even the Pope, everything has been infiltrated with evil. The church has been infiltrated with the communists, Marxists, back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and on and on and on, and it's taken over. And it's going to be tough to raise our children to stay Catholic and to stay sane. really going to take, Father Hardin said it takes heroic Catholics to do this. Heroic Catholics. We need to teach our children their faith, and we have to know the faith. We have to teach them the beauty of motherhood. But we have to practice the beauty of motherhood as mothers, and fathers to practice masculinity. And so we have to teach our children. This is what that young man wants to do. He wants to come here to start teaching. He wants to set up a school to work with homeschoolers, but also to set up a school for those that aren't homeschooled, especially for boys, where it'll be a balance of them learning how to work, not only developing their minds in great knowledge and their great books, but also to develop their senses, their talents, to know how to plant seeds, to know how to make a garden, know how to plow a field, to know how to take care of animals, to know how to build a house, to know how to work with wood, to know how to carve, to know how to, things that you do that builds up our talents, who we are, to be creators. We need to do that with our daughters. Let them be creative, so that when they get married, they won't be bored to death and have to sit before the television. They'll be creative mothers. If you read about Rosie and heard me talk, my wife was so creative. I mean, she was always doing things with the children. Okay, so my daughters are doing the same thing. My boys are doing the same thing, in different areas, of course. Chesterton has a book called The Man's Thursday, I believe it's called. And in there, they have where a London policeman is talking to a young man, and he's talking about the spirit of the philosophy, how it was taken over in the world of evil philosophy. He says they have two rings, the outer ring and the inner ring. And the outer ring is the average guy who just does bad things, who does sinful things, who gets drunk, or maybe kills, or maybe wants to marry more than one woman, or whatever. But the inner ring, he said, he calls the outer ring the innocent. The inner ring is the intellectuals, the philosophers. They are working to destroy humanity in itself. And this is what's happening. The inner ring, the teachers, they want to destroy humanity themselves. Pope John Paul called it the culture of death. There's a man that told, that is one of the teachers, he says he thinks it's better, an animal is better than having a baby that's deformed or retarded. He says they ought to kill that baby. Wow. God bless you. I hope we get excited and want to do something and protect our children. Thank you for listening to me. God bless you. Bye-bye.